People started calling the Mojave phone booth from around the world. The phone rang constantly in the empty desert day and night, and eventually people started making the trip to answer it. They drove for hours on paved highway, then turned onto 15 miles of unpaved dirt road that rattled their cars and covered everything in dirt. They arrived at a phone booth standing alone in a landscape so empty it could have been on another planet. The glass was shot out. The phone book was gone. Graffiti covered every surface. Names, dates, messages from people who'd made the journey. And they waited. When the phone rang, the sound hit hard. In the total silence of the desert, no traffic, no voices, no hum of any kind, a ringing phone was almost violent, and you couldn't ignore it.
That's weird. Mojave Desert. This is it. Fine, thanks.
People picked up and found themselves talking to strangers from halfway around the world.
So there's actually a modern push-button phone there?
Yes, there is.
And nobody's ripped it out or destroyed it?
No, and Art, it rings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from around the world. I talk to Switzerland, I talk to Australia, Africa, of course I talk to Kansas, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
What?
The conversations were strange and personal. Something about the isolation made people open up. They told secrets. They confessed things they'd never said out loud. They talked to the booth like it was a priest, anonymous and free of judgment. The New York Times wrote about it in May 1998. That blew the doors off. Documentary crews showed up. Musicians wrote songs about it. The booth got its own fan sites, its own mythology. People camped next to it for days, waiting for the next call, talking to whoever happened to dial the number. This was 1997, 1998, 1999. The early internet, when the web still felt like a place where weird things could happen, where a phone booth in the desert could become the most important place in the world just because enough people decided it was. But there was something else about the phone calls. They weren't always friendly. Campers at the booth started reporting strange things. Not every call was a curious stranger or a fellow fan. Some calls were just static, a low electrical hum that sounded like the desert wind had gotten into the wires. Some were garbled voices, words that didn't quite form into anything you could understand, sounds that might have been human or might not have been. One camper answered a call at 3 a.m. The desert was pitch black. No moon, no artificial light for miles in any direction. Just stars and silence. He picked up the receiver. A voice whispered, "I see you." He looked around. Nothing. Darkness in every direction. No cars, no flashlights, no movement. He was alone. He hung up. The phone rang again. Same voice, same whisper. "I see you." He didn't answer the third time. He got in his car and drove 15 miles of dirt road in the dark. The whole way out, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from the hills. Other visitors reported the same kind of thing. Calls that felt off. Voices that didn't sound quite human. The feeling of being watched in a place where no one should have been watching. Some saw lights in the sky above the booth. Not planes or satellites. Something else. Others felt vibrations in the ground when the phone rang, like the booth was connected to something underneath the desert. The booth pulled in true believers who thought it was a portal, a beacon, an antenna drawing attention from things that weren't human. It pulled in skeptics who came to prove the stories wrong and left feeling uneasy. And it pulled in people who just wanted to answer a phone in the middle of nowhere, to prove that connection was still possible even in the most isolated place on Earth. And for 3 years, the Mojave phone booth rang. On May 17th, 2000, Pacific Bell sent a crew into the desert. They tore down the booth, ripped up the concrete pad, and disconnected the line. Per company policy, the phone number was retired. A Pac Bell spokesman later confirmed what fans had feared. They hadn't just removed the booth, they destroyed it. The official reason was environmental damage. Too many visitors driving off-road, tearing up the desert, leaving trash in what had become the Mojave National Preserve. But there was more to it. The preserve superintendent had confronted Pac Bell about long-forgotten easement fees for the land the booth sat on, fees that had gone unpaid for years, maybe decades. Pacific Bell didn't fight it, they just pulled the plug. The number 760-733-9969 went dead. Someone placed a headstone at the site, an actual grave marker, like a memorial for a dead friend. The National Park Service removed that too. But people still visit. They drive the 15 miles of dirt road, park in the sand, and stand in the empty spot where the booth used to be. Nothing there now. Just scrub brush, and the faint outline where concrete once was, and the desert is already taking it back. Visitors hear a phantom ring, a faint electronic sound rising from the desert floor, coming from nowhere, drifting across the emptiness. The people who hear it swear it's real. It sounds like the booth is still there, buried under the sand, still connected to something, still waiting for someone to answer. In 2013, a phone freak named Lucky225 acquired the old number through a voice-over IP provider. He set it up so callers could reach a conference line, strangers talking to strangers again, just like the old days. The booth was gone, but the number lived. Doc Daniels spent 10 years writing a book about the whole thing. Adventures with the Mojave Phone Booth came out in 2018, funded by a Kickstarter campaign. NPR's Snap Judgment did a segment on it. The podcast 99% Invisible devoted an episode to it. The novelist J.G. Ballard called the booth a kind of talismanic object, something that shouldn't have mattered, but did, for reasons nobody could fully explain. Thousands of people drove hours into the desert just to talk to strangers. They told secrets to a phone booth in the middle of nowhere because it felt safer than telling anyone they actually knew. The booth was a piece of forgotten equipment, a leftover from 1948 that nobody bothered to disconnect, a policy station for a dead mine. The desert is quiet now. The concrete is gone. The confessional is closed. But somewhere under the sand, something is still waiting for a signal.